An RGB PC is an attempt at making a statement. Most of the time, however, that statement is only skin deep as it doesn't transform into raw power. But if you get quality parts which look like they belong in a sci-fi anime, and most importantly, are parts which reinforce the strength of your other components, then there is always something to get excited about every morning. I'm Rafael from Hardware Sugar, and I am reviewing the Porsche of RAM sticks, the Tforce Xtreem ARGB. I felt as though I was opening a box of expensive German steak knives. The reflective, hard plastic cover of the box puts my Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro to shame. Although the box obviously doesn't dictate performance, it sure as hell made me feel as though a beast waited underneath. Our review kit is 2 sticks of 8GB of RAM with a speed of 3200 MHz. Holding it made me feel as though each piece was a delicate shard of glass rather than anything electronic. And just like glass, it picks up fingerprints instantaneously, which explains why they provided this thin microfiber cloth. Overall, the physical design of the Tforce Xtreem is more of a modern art piece. The allure is made to be subtle yet noticeable, unlike other RAM which have a more in-your-face industrial finish. In keeping with the subtle design aesthetic, the lighting is colorful but subdued. My personal setup has a Corsair H100i liquid cooler, the Tforce Xtreem RAM sticks, and the RGB SSD that Team Group also sent us over with, which I will be covering in a different review. Prior to this, I installed the Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro alongside the Tforce Xtreem, and the Corsair's RAM's lights dwarfed that of the Tforce to the extent you couldn't see much of it side by side. If your goal is to get RGB RAM which is as bright as possible, then you may want to go with a different choice. However, if you are like a lot of people like myself who don't want RGB everywhere but want hints of it to give character to your PC, the Tforce Xtreem is spot on. It is not overpowering but very much clearly present, like a well-placed accent light, a concept of which I just executed at my house's staircase. Too much light is deafening to the extent you could no longer admire the raw design. And that raw design makes me feel as though I just installed a glowing glass shard, like one of those colorful gems you find in Zelda, and that the magic from those shards flow through the rest of my hardware, invigorating it with power. This leads me to the obvious lighting difference, which sets it apart from most of the competition. The light reflects through the entirety of the stick and not just one side of the RAM. Thus, why I compare it to a Zelda rupee or a power crystal. Controlling the Tforce Xtreem can be achieved by using any of the partnered software. My PC uses an MSI motherboard, but because of my experience with Asus's Aura Sync, I decided to use AnyCreator to control the colors, even if it is always recommended to use the software which runs your motherboard's brand. Surprisingly, Asus software worked. However, I later realized that the only way I could control the RGB of my motherboard was through MSI Dragon Center. Instead of using 2 different programs to control the colors of 2 different things, I decided to go with MSI Dragon Center instead. In short, always pick the RGB software meant for your motherboard, but it is handy to know that it works on Asus's AnyCreator like a charm, even if you don't have an Asus motherboard. Overclocking. I am running a Gigabyte RTX 2080 Ti, Ryzen 7 3700X, and a MSI X570 Gaming Edge motherboard. I was able to max out the speed to 3200 MHz by changing the XMP profile and suffered no problems. It is important to note that when I tried to overclock my Corsair RAM sticks to reach 3200 MHz as well, I suffered a crazy breakdown in which I needed to reset the CMOS. That's just a fancy way of saying that the Corsair bricked my PC and I needed to take out the battery in my motherboard in order to get it going again. It was, however, smooth sailing with the Tforce Xtreem ARGB. Multiple sites also review that the Xtreem overclocks well and is either faster or on par with that of its other RGB rivals. I will leave links to their reviews below. We sell the Xtreem, but only the 3600 MHz variant for 6200. Our supplier doesn't sell the 3200 MHz variant, and I noticed that on Lazada and Shopee, that seems to be the case for the most part. If you are interested in getting it locally, I recommend you get a 3600 version because there seems to be a shortage of the other versions. And the ones that are selling the 3200 are actually more expensive than the 3600 MHz version. You are most definitely being charged a premium for looks and quality. And so this is meant more for PC builders who are already looking for high-end parts with RGB. And as I said earlier, the looks of the Xtreem through its mirror light penetration design makes it stand out from the rest. Before I buy anything, I like focusing on who I'm buying it from. While Corsair and HyperX sell good RAM in their own right, they also sell mice, keyboards, headsets, coolers, and a whole host of other stuff which requires them to allocate resources to other projects. Team Group, the company that makes the Tforce RAM sticks, focuses purely on perfecting and designing RAM and SSDs and nothing else. If at the end of the day I am faced with products which are evenly matched, the final clincher for me is picking the one made by the company who specializes it in the most. In conclusion, the Xtreem offers a unique RGB lighting design and provides the speed to match its looks. Buy the 3200 MHz version instead, and if you want to check out the colors for yourself, head over to our physical store, Hardware Sugar in Makati, as we will be leaving these at our test bench for customers to try out. Stay safe everyone, and stay tuned for our upcoming review of the Team Group Delta Max SSD.